Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the tires that I use for a lot of track meets here in Japan. Now, as you can see, a lot of the times the tires come in just donut form, so you have to do the gluing yourself. You can go and buy pre-mounted tires, but you're stuck with the manufacturer's wheel. So ideally, you want to, select the type of rim you want. Now, this is more than just aesthetic appeal, it also has a function as well. The rims will have different flex characteristics. And so, what you want to do is buy several different sets of rims depending on their flex characteristics and go ahead and mount your favorite tires that you would generally use at a particular track, and then you go out and test them. Anyway, say that I've picked my, rim of choice. Now, what tire do I use? And I found personally, this comes down to like driving style and setup. I found the Zach Project tires. These guys here are my go-to tire choice. Zach Project isn't really well known in the United States, or I'm pretty sure in any European countries, but Zach Project tires for me are by far the best tires I've ever used. This is going up against Yokomo tires, GSX tires, and I'll explain why. Now, the Zach tires, first of all, they come in a package of four sets. So you get a total of eight tires per package at the cost of, in Japanese yen, 1,280 yen. That's pretty damn cheap considering other manufacturers will sell, a set of tires, just a set of tires for almost that price. Now, I was a little bit hesitant about picking up Zach Project tires because of this. Um, However, curiosity got the best of me, and I thought, well, you know what? I'll give the Zach 35s a try. 35 is the shore that a lot of guys use here in Japan, and we use 35 fronts and 35 rears. I'll explain about saucing techniques when you're using equal shores front and rear. Anyway, so yeah, I was a little bit hesitant about how cheap they were and how many you got in a package. Um, but then I thought, well, I'm going to buy them, test them out, and see how they go. And after my first practice run, I was just, I was just amazed at how much traction and how much steering the car had and how much stability it had. There's usually compromise. Either you get a lot of traction and it takes away from the steering, or, you know, if there's a lot of steering, it takes away from the stability. So I was amazed. I thought, oh, well, it must be just a lucky situation. But I really was amazed at how well these tires hooked up on the track for the first time. And from that point on, I was hooked. Now, the only downfall I found with these tires is that they wear a little bit faster than the other manufacturer compounds, such as Yokomo and GSX. Now, I this is a little bit hard. This is harder to determine because I was racing modified at the time when I discovered these tires. However, I've gone back to stock racing, and the tire wear isn't as bad, but it's still noticeable. Um, but I found, my lap times were much faster running the Zach Project tires than any tire that I've gone with, such as Yokomo. Like I tested Yokomo alongside Zach Project, and I was much faster with the Zach Project. The GSX, which are these guys here, they usually don't really come labeled. It's kind of like Kimiko Yano's own, tire. They run the GSX front and rear 35 Shore, the 35, what I've been saying with this package here. They run 35s. The GSX tires are really good, but they're really expensive. Uh, they the car really really hooks up. They're really good for modified. Um, I just found that the GSX tires were hard to drive. Like it made the car a lot more, I guess you could say, twitchy, very reactive, and it can make the car a bit of a handful to drive. But they are fast if you get a good if you get a good sorry, if you have a good setup, then I think you won't have an issue with the GSX. I've been successful with the GSX, but I found that it took a lot of effort to really get the GSX tires to work well for my driving style. But like I said, I find that tires kind of work with your driving style, so you'll have to test and tune. So these are GXX by Kimiko Yano. I'll tell you where you can get these tires as well. And then the Yokomo's CRT tires here. These are, I think, pink foam tires. And yeah, I was I was okay with them. Like they're a very stable tire. They make the car fairly, I don't know, fairly neutral driving around the track. It doesn't have too much traction, so much so that it makes the car twitchy. Um, it makes the car very, stable and easy to drive. Um, I think that's why these tires are probably meant to be for modified, where you do need to have that stability and overall uh, ease of driving around the track. But I think it also has to do with the racing class. I'm currently racing in stock class. Just got back into it, so I think these tires, the CRT tires, would be ideal for modified, which they are obviously the best tires for modified at this moment because all the Yokomo drivers use them. Anyway, so that's my take on the foam tires that I use here in Japan. There's another company that is gaining popularity here in Japan, and that is Morotech. Morotech foam tires and wheels are becoming a fairly big force right now here in Japan. They're dominating a lot of the stock racing classes, and they're also dominating some of the modified classes. So keep your ear out for Morotech foam. Even go to their website. I'll post up the website and check them out. I haven't tried Morotech foams yet, but I really want to because I've heard a lot of guys, I've seen a lot of guys go fast with them, so I'm curious to know how they stack up. Now, where do you go and buy, for example, Zack Project tires? Well, you can go to Futaba Pro Shop. They carry pretty much all the tires that you see here in the video here. Even Kimiko Yano's GXX foam tires. Just go to Futaba Pro Shop to buy your tires. If you want to do your own gluing, you're definitely at an advantage because you can get away from your local brands and test out foreign rubber. And, you know, I believe these tires will work well in most conditions. Like Zack Project has 35s. They also have 38s. Um, you know, you can't go wrong with Zack Project foam tires, in my opinion. Like they make my cars faster. They make the car handle so much better than the other tires that you see in this video here. But I'm not bashing the other tires. It's just my personal opinion on how my car handles in my driving style. Now, the only downfall, as I mentioned, is the tires tend to wear a little bit quicker than the other tires you see in the video. So you have to kind of weigh out the differences. But One other thing is when you do run the same shore front and rear, please do not sauce, do not put traction compound on the front and on the rear at the same time. Don't do this because your car is just going to be so difficult to drive. I would suggest putting traction additive or saucing your tires for the rear 45 minutes or more. For the front, 5 to 10 minutes, less than half a width of the foam tire. Just you don't need to because you're you're running the same foam compound front and rear, and obviously you want to make sure that the rear has enough stability throughout the course of the run. That's why you need to sauce the tires for such a length of time. Now, for the fronts, you only need to sauce it, you're going to have to test and tune for the front. You're going to have to sauce it for maybe 5-10 minutes, and you're going to have to determine the width. If you're saucing the whole tire, then you need to look at switching your compounds around or changing your saucing techniques. Now, you can go ahead and run a different compound, a different shore, front and rear. But ideally, if you want to be fast, and I found this out after being smoked by a few fast guys, you have to run the same compound front and rear. Now, it doesn't have to be from the same manufacturer. You can have a GSX rear 35 and a Zach Project 35 front, and you can be fast. You really have to test and tune and figure out what works for you on your track. But I found running the same shore front and rear is the fastest ticket around the track. It'll be a little bit more trickier. It'll be trickier to drive, but once you get the saucing techniques down and your suspension setup sorted out, you'll be fine. And also, don't worry about trying different manufacturer foam tires, in the front and rear, because I think the guy who won the Japan Nationals, 112 scale stock nationals, he was running like Team Bomber on the front and GXX on the rear. So under the same shore, but a different foam compound. So, test and tune. That's the important thing about this hobby. Test and tune, try new things, and don't worry about what other people say about, oh, you need to do it this way or this way, this way. Try and test and tune your way. But, the best advice I can give you if you are running the same shore, front and rear, is sauce the rears for a lot longer time than the front, because if not, you're going to have such a headache with the car being twitchy and grip rolling, flipping, all that. Okay? So check out Futaba Pro Shop to get any foam tires that you need, and pretty much the ones that you see in front of me, I would highly suggest trying out. Definitely try out Zach Project, my favorites by far. Okay? Bye-bye.